On the day I finalized my adoption papers for her son, my wife sent me a text. Thanks for the free babysitting. His real dad's back now. I walked into our home and found it empty, except for a note from her son that said, "Please don't leave me." I stayed silent. That was 6 months ago. Today, she was screaming outside my work. "You took him? He's mine." I ripped every drawer from the kitchen and piled them in the bathtub. Every spoon, every fork, every chipped coffee mug we'd ever shared. I dumped them in one by one while her son cried on the hallway floor. He kept asking what I was doing. "Sorting," I said calmly. "I'm sorting what's real from what's left over." The adoption papers were still in my glove compartment. Signed, sealed. I hadn't mailed them yet. That was 6 months ago. The text came in just before I pulled into our driveway. No punctuation. No warning. "Thanks for the free babysitting. His real dad's back now." I thought it was a joke. I thought maybe she was drunk or bitter about the fight we'd had the night before. Something stupid about how much time I was spending with Micah and not with her. But when I walked into the house, there was nothing. No furniture. No dishes. No toys. No note from her. Just one from Micah, scrawled in red marker on lined paper, taped to the inside of the pantry. "Please don't leave me." I sat down on the floor and didn't move for almost 2 hours. Didn't even cry. Just stared at the note like it was still being written. When I finally called her, she didn't answer. When I tried again, the number had been disconnected. Like she'd erased herself mid-conversation. It didn't make sense. She was the one who begged me to adopt him. Said he needed a man in his life. Said his real dad was a ghost, a junkie, a prison sentence waiting to happen. I'd stayed up with him when he had night terrors. Built him a bed shaped like a spaceship. Took him to therapy after he stopped speaking for 2 weeks. She hadn't even taken the photo albums. The police said it wasn't kidnapping. Not if she was his biological mother and no legal adoption had gone through. They made a note, gave me a number to call, and moved on. But the part no one ever asked was this. Why did she leave Micah behind? She didn't take him. She didn't want him. She just wanted to punish me. I didn't sleep for the first week. Micah wouldn't either. He kept asking when she was coming back. But eventually he stopped asking. He started folding his own clothes, lining his toy soldiers along the window like guards. 3 weeks later, I got the first text from a new number. "You're not his dad. You never were. Don't get attached." No name, no context, just pure, gleaming cruelty. I saved it. I saved all of them. Every message she sent over the next 3 months. Taunting me, undermining me, warning me not to get too close. I screen-capped and archived. For evidence. For memory. For when the story changed later. I went silent. Completely. No social media. No shared updates. Nothing she could manipulate. Instead, I watched. Waited. Micah had started to talk again. Barely. Short phrases. But only with me. Only when we were alone. "Is this home now?" he asked once during breakfast. "It's wherever you are," I told him. He nodded like that answer had passed some secret test. And then, this morning, she showed up outside my work. Screaming. Like I'd stolen something. Like I was the one who broke every bone of a promise and then blamed the body. "You took him. He's mine." She looked disheveled. One shoe in hand. Shouting outside my work. Security tried to calm her down. But she just kept screaming my name. "Thief. You stole my son." Everyone in the lobby was watching. I didn't say a word. I turned. Walked back into the office. And that was the moment I knew. She didn't come back for Micah. She came back for attention. So now I'll tell you everything. About the man she said was Micah's real dad. About the bruises Micah never explained. About what she did the last time I tried to protect him. Because the truth? This didn't start when she left. It started the day I realized I was the only adult in the house. And I don't think I've told anyone what I found in the crawlspace that night. But I will. Next update coming soon. And if she's reading this, good. Let's tell the story together. One truth at a time. Update 1. I found Micah in the coat closet again last night. Curled up under a pile of winter jackets. Holding the baby monitor like a walkie-talkie. He does that sometimes. Sleeps in weird places. Corners. Cabinets. Places that feel more like hiding than resting. He says it helps him stay small. The first time I found him there, 2 weeks after she left, I thought it was just trauma. Some leftover panic from the abandonment. But now I think it's memory. Muscle memory. Like he's repeating something he doesn't know how to name. He doesn't call me dad. He never did. Not even when we were good. He calls me Harris, which is my last name, because that's what she called me when she was angry. It's also what she wrote on the note she left under the fridge magnets, the one I found a week after she disappeared. Harris, don't teach him to love you. It'll confuse him later. She stuck it under the E-magnet, the one Micah always used for elephant. I sat on the floor and stared at it for an hour. Then I peeled it off and fed it into the paper shredder, one line at a time. I didn't tell Micah. I don't tell him a lot of things, like how I hired a private investigator. A real one, not some online background check nonsense. This guy used to be NYPD, burned out in a custody case of his own, and now runs quiet digs for fathers trying to figure out what kind of hell their exes are building across state lines. He found her in Dayton, living with a guy named Tony who has 5 priors, 2 DUIs, and a face like a bad tattoo. Tony's not Micah's dad, just the newest replacement. She posted a photo of them on a boat last week. Smiling, holding solo cups. Micah wasn't in the picture, but in the background, there was a stuffed rabbit on the dock. Micah's rabbit. I'd sewn the left ear back on with blue thread after our dog chewed it off last Christmas. You don't forget something like that. She didn't just leave. She took what mattered to him and left him behind. And here's the part one haven't said out loud yet. Micah was already scared of her before she left. He didn't cry when she disappeared. Didn't scream. Just got real quiet and asked me if we were in trouble. When I said no, he said, "Good." I thought she'd restrict food again. I thought he was joking. Then I found the zip ties behind the washing machine, and the plastic baby lock that had been screwed, not glued, onto the fridge door from the inside. She used to say Micah needed strict food rules when he acted out. Said he'd get moody if he ate sugar. Said he needed reset days, where he only got water, rice, and apples. But I didn't know she was locking the damn fridge. I confronted her once, months before she left. Asked her about how thin he was getting. She said it was growth spurts. She said I was imagining it. She said I didn't know anything about being a parent. She was right. I didn't know what kind of parent she was either, until I found the crawl space. It's under the laundry room. Access panel behind the dryer. I only found it because the dog, Scout, kept barking at the floor like something was moving under there. One night I finally pulled the dryer out, unscrewed the vent, and peeked in with a flashlight. There were scratch marks on the inside of the hatch. Tiny ones, like fingernails. There was also a milk crate with a sippy cup, an old baby blanket, and a single LED lantern with duct tape around the button. I don't know how many times she put him in there. I don't know if he even remembers. I just know he flinches when the dryer buzzes. And last week, he asked me if I could turn off the floor. I asked what he meant. He said, "That's where the whispers come from." I checked under his bed, behind the closet, under the rug. Nothing. But when I lifted the floorboard under his pillow, I found something wedged into the insulation. A photo. Burned around the edges. Blackened. Water damaged. It was Micah. Younger. Maybe 3 years old. Sitting in a sink. Marks on both knees. Looking directly into the camera like he was waiting for someone to pull him out. Behind him, just barely visible in the mirror, a shadow. Tall. Holding something long and metallic. I don't know. But I know this. It wasn't me. And it wasn't her. It was someone else. Someone Micah won't talk about. Someone he calls the Blue Man. When I asked who that was, he shut down. Didn't speak for 2 days. Just stood in the hallway, staring at the crawl space like it was going to open. I started locking the laundry room door. He sleeps in my bed now. Not because I want him to, but because he won't fall asleep anywhere else. And I keep a hammer on the nightstand. Not because I expect her to come back, but because if she does, I want to be ready. Update 2. 3 nights ago, I caught Micah staring at the back wall of my bedroom just past the bookshelf. I was half asleep, thought maybe he needed water or had another nightmare. But when I sat up, he didn't blink. Didn't move. Just whispered. "Don't let him see you breathing." It was like he wasn't talking to me. Like he was repeating something he'd been told 100 times. A rule. A survival tactic. I checked the whole room. Every corner. The closet. The hallway. Nothing. But I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there holding Micah against my chest like a shield. The next morning, he didn't remember saying it. Said he dreamed of a blue light. That's it. But that afternoon, when I went to take out the trash, I found something wedged in the mailbox. No stamp. No return address. A Polaroid. Micah, taken from outside our kitchen window. Eating cereal. Wearing the red dinosaur pajamas she'd packed in the box labeled trash before she left. The photo was dated. Yesterday, I looked up at the window. The curtains were closed. They'd been closed for weeks. which means whoever took it opened them first. I checked every lock, every window, every camera. Nothing was broken. Nothing was triggered. But the back door? The one leading to the laundry room? The crawlspace panel was cracked open. Just a half-inch. Just enough. I pulled Micah out of school that day. Didn't tell them why. Just said we were moving. Which by then I'd already started planning. I'd sold my car. Cashed out a Roth I'd built during the marriage. Found a short-term rental in a different county under a friend's name. A 2-bedroom duplex near the edge of a lake. No crawlspaces. No basements. No shared walls. Micah didn't ask why. He just packed the rabbit and one shoe. That night, I watched him fall asleep for the first time in weeks. Peaceful. Drooling on the pillow. No flinches. No twitching fingers. I should have felt relief. Instead, I went back to the box I'd kept hidden since the beginning. The one with her old journals. She used to keep them stacked on the nightstand. Wrote in them like it was therapy. When she moved out, she only took the ones from the last 2 years. Left the older ones behind. I think she forgot what was in them. But I didn't. It took me 3 hours to find it, the entry from April 2019. Micah still won't go into the garage since Tony came by. He says it smells like teeth. What does that mean? I think he's making things up. Harris says he needs to be around other kids. But kids lie too. Another entry 2 weeks later. He drew the blue man again. Always the same. No face. Holding a wire. Maybe I should throw out the crayons. And this one. I told him if he doesn't stop talking about the blue man will come back. That shut him up. I had to stop reading. I went outside. Stood in the cold. Screamed into the lake until I couldn't feel my throat. Then I called her. The number she used to text me those taunts? Still active. She answered on the second ring. Miss me. I found the photo, I said. Silence. Then a low chuckle. I told Tony not to use Polaroids. He never listens. What did you do to him? I asked. Nothing permanent, she said. Then she hung up. I sat on the floor of the empty kitchen, staring at the unplugged microwave. The old landlord used to say microwaves reflect energy. Whatever that means. I just saw my own face, warped and vibrating. That was the night I made my decision. The next morning, I drove to her last known address. Parked across the street. Watched her and Tony get in the car and leave. Then I let myself in through the back. The apartment was filthy. Mold in the sink. Ashes in the bathtub. But the bedroom closet? It was lined with children's drawings. Dozens of them. Taped to the inside walls. Micah's handwriting. Micah's fear. And in the middle, the largest one of all. A stick figure with no face. Blue crayon completely worn down. The figure held a wire in one hand and a rabbit in the other. Micah had drawn him again. But this time, the blue man wasn't standing in a room. He was standing behind someone sleeping. And underneath, in block letters. He comes when she cries. I took the drawings. Every single one. I left a note behind. Not for her. For Tony. You made a mistake. You followed a man who didn't flinch. You heard a boy who stopped screaming. You chose a house with a crawl space. I don't need to call the cops. I just need to wait. I haven't heard from either of them since. But I did get a package yesterday. Wrapped in newspaper. No return address. Inside, a blue crayon. Snapped in half. Update 3. Micah hasn't spoken in 3 days. Not in whispers. Not in sleep. Not even to the rabbit. He just watches me. Like he's waiting for me to catch up to something he already knows. I caught him drawing again. This time not on paper. On the wall. With the blue crayon. The same one that showed up snapped in that package. I had buried the pieces under a layer of gravel behind the shed. But when I walked into his room yesterday, he was holding it. Unbroken. Pressing it against the drywall over and over until the tip flattened into wax dust. He'd drawn the same thing 27 times. A door. Not a room. Not a house. Just a tall, thin, crooked rectangle that didn't quite match the rest of the architecture. It had no handle. Just a single black circle at the center like an eye. When I asked what it was, he didn't look up. He just whispered, "He's in the hinge now." I don't know what that means. But last night, when I opened the closet to get a blanket, I swear I heard it creak in time with my breathing. I barely sleep anymore. When I do, I wake up with this thick pressure in my chest like something sat on me while I dreamed. I checked the carbon monoxide, the vents, everything. Nothing's wrong with the house, except the clocks. They've started ticking out of sync. Just slightly, just enough. Micah noticed too. Said the house is trying to talk to itself. When I laughed, nervous, bitter, he didn't. He just said, "That's how the blue man got in last time. Through the noise." I started reading more of her journals. I don't know why. Morbid compulsion, maybe. Or maybe I was looking for a thread. Some logical, psychological explanation that would make all of this fall into place. But instead, I found this. Micah talks to the dark sometimes. Not like imaginary friend talk. It's reverent. Like he's apologizing. Says the blue man used to live under our feet before we woke him up. Before Harris came. That entry was dated before Micah could form full sentences. Another one. He bit his own arm in his sleep. Not crying. Just methodical. Like he was testing it. Like he was seeing if it still hurt. I checked Micah's arm this morning. There's a scar there. Faint. Round. Right where she described it. I asked how he got it. He said, I was hiding something inside. That was it. No context. No follow-up. I called our pediatric therapist. Told her we needed an emergency session. She asked if he'd exhibited signs of regression, hallucination, trauma recall. I told her yes. She asked if I felt safe. I said no. But I didn't mean from Micah. I meant from whatever is growing in the silence between us. Because here's what happened this morning. I went out to grab firewood from the back of the house. Just 15 steps. Maybe 20. Took less than a minute. When I came back in, Micah was gone. Every door locked. Every window sealed. I ran through the house screaming his name. Nothing. Then I saw the attic string. Hanging. Swaying. I pulled it down and climbed the ladder. And there he was. Sitting at the far corner of the attic. Knees to chest. Rocking slowly. Eyes wide and dry. Behind him, on the insulation wall, he'd carved something. I still don't know how. He doesn't own a knife. But there it was, etched with something sharp and slow. You're not breathing right. He knows. He didn't say a word the whole way down. Didn't explain. Just laid on the floor and covered his ears. And then, this part is real, I swear to God. Every light in the house dimmed for 1 second. One blink. And in that blink, I smelled something. Not smoke. Not rot. Teeth. Micah was right. That's what fear smells like. It's the breath of something that's already decided you don't get to choose how this ends. I'm not a spiritual man. I don't believe in ghosts. But something is feeding on him. Or through him. Or worse, waiting for him to open a door again. And I think I might have made it worse. Because last night, I went back into the crawl space. I don't know what I expected to find. I just needed to know. Needed to see the inside with adult eyes. With the flashlight on and my hands steady. It was smaller than I remembered. Dust everywhere. An old baby blanket stuffed behind the vent. Crayons melted into the corner. And in the center, a flattened milk crate with something resting on top. A small tooth with blue thread wrapped around it. Micah has all his teeth. I checked. Which means that tooth came from before. I put it in a jar. Labeled it. Sealed it. And now it sits on my nightstand like a thread I can't stop looking at. I think the blue man isn't a person. Not really. I think he's a language Micah was forced to learn. And now I hear him too. At night. Behind the walls. Clicking. Like he's turning the hinges one tooth at a time. Final update. It's been 5 days since Micah spoke. 5 days since he ate more than a few bites of cereal. For days since the last time I slept without hearing the click. The click lives in the walls now. I tried sealing the vents. Patching every crack. I even boarded the crawl space shut with industrial brackets from the hardware store. But it doesn't matter. You can't lock out something that lives in breath, in rhythm, in the silence between the seconds when your heart forgets to beat. The blue man doesn't knock anymore. He's already inside. 2 nights ago, I woke up standing in the kitchen. No memory of getting there. Just Micah sitting on the floor, staring up at me, eyes black-ringed and calm. You were trying to open it, he said. My hands were bleeding. Both of them. Skin shredded along the knuckles. Pieces of drywall under my nails. I looked behind me and saw the shape I'd scraped into the kitchen wall. Another door. But this one wasn't drawn. It was carved. Full height. Right where the pantry used to be. Micah walked over to it and touched the black circle in the center. It doesn't open unless you say the rhyme, he whispered. I asked what rhyme. He didn't answer. Just went back to bed. I sat on the floor till morning, pressing ice packs to my fists. The next day, I booked us into a motel. 2 towns over. Just for 1 night. I needed to prove it was the house. That it wasn't me. That the walls weren't following us. I was wrong. Because that night, in the motel bathroom, Micah spoke again. He was brushing his teeth when he looked in the mirror and asked, Harris, why does he wear your face now? I turned the mirror toward the wall. He didn't ask why. Just went to bed. And then came the dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream. I was lying on my side watching Micah breathe. I counted each inhale to keep myself grounded. 1, 2, 3. On the 12th breath, the room flickered. Not the lights. The room. Like the walls skipped. And then I wasn't lying in bed anymore. I was inside the crawl space. But bigger. Endless. Walls made of mouths stitched shut with blue thread. A ceiling that pulsed like lungs. And a floor covered in faded children's drawings. In the center, there was a child. Not Micah. Not really. His body was there, but his eyes were mirrors, reflecting something I didn't want to see. And behind him? The blue man. No face. No feet. Just angles. Limbs like twisted shadows. And breath that smelled like singed milk teeth. He leaned down and whispered into the boy's mirrored ear. I didn't hear what he said, but Micah laughed. That's when I woke up. Nose bleeding. Pillow soaked. And the rabbit, Micah's rabbit, was sitting on the nightstand. I never brought it to the motel. I don't remember packing it. But there it was. Staring. With both ears intact. Even the blue thread one. I checked Micah's arms. His legs. His back. New bruises. Faint, symmetrical, like fingers pressing from inside. I took him to the ER. They asked questions. I gave vague answers. They ran tests. No fractures. No signs of trauma. But they did find something on the x-ray. Inside his stomach. A coin. Old. Thin. Foreign. Blue. They said kids swallow things all the time. That it would pass. That there was no reason to worry. But I saw the scan. It wasn't a coin. It was a key. And when I asked Micah about it, he didn't flinch. He just said, it's how I keep him quiet. For now. We went home that night. I didn't know where else to go. And that's when I saw it. The note. Folded under the bedroom door. In handwriting I recognized. Mine. I didn't write it. But it was mine. It said, the door isn't for him. It never was. You opened it the day you signed your name. He's not coming for the boy. He's coming for what you buried in him. I don't remember the rest of that night. Just waking up to find every light on. Every faucet running. And Micah sitting at the kitchen table holding the jar with the tooth. It's not mine, he said. I know, I said. Then I opened the back door and threw it into the lake. It sank fast. Micah didn't blink. This morning I got a text. Unknown number. No name. Just a video. It showed our house. From across the street. Taken at 3:47 a.m. The camera panned slowly. Window by window. Until it landed on the kitchen. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw myself. Standing behind Micah. But I was asleep. In the bed. With the door locked. Micah's therapist says we need to address the unreality. But there's nothing left to address. I've stopped locking the crawl space. Stopped taping the closets. Stopped running from the door. Because I finally remembered the rhyme. Micah said it once months ago. Right after she left. He was singing to himself under his breath. I didn't understand it then. But I do now. Knock, knock, knock behind the eye. Show me where the silence hides. Count to 10, then count no more. He's already inside the door. That's how it ends. That's how it always ends. Micah is sleeping now. The house is quiet. But the clocks? They've all stopped at 3:47 a.m. Just like in the video. And outside? The porch light just flickered. 1, 2, 3 times. I'm gonna open the door now. Not for him. For me. Because if I don't, he'll keep using Micah's body to knock. And I'd rather burn than let that boy become the hinge.